How do you design a quilt? In this video, we're going to take a look at the very first steps to get started designing your own quilt, right from first design principles, with the first steps in the design process. So where do we start? With inspiration. Let's go get an idea. Hi, I'm Ryde and I'm a designer, a quilt maker, and I design and write quilt patterns and teach quilters and surface designers like you how to do the same so that you can share your creativity with the world and start to grow a creative business. In this video, we're going to start on the creative journey of designing a quilt, and that is all about gathering inspiration. And before you think, oh, but Ali, I have so many ideas, I don't need a way to find more. Stick around and I'm going to share my biggest tip on how to make the most of all of those ideas that you do have. It's one thing to have an idea. In fact, everyone has ideas all the time. It's quite another thing to really go deep with that idea and take it from just an idea into a great idea for a design. So let's jump in. There are 3 stages to gathering inspiration, which are seeking, actively gathering inspiration itself, capturing that inspiration, and finally reviewing what you've got. So step 1, seeking inspiration. Are you stuck for ideas or wondering how to come up with a unique idea that doesn't just look like every other idea on the internet? Some people think that inspiration is something that kind of strikes by lightning, that you just need to stare at a blank piece of paper and a great idea is just going to fall from the sky and knock you on the head. I think it's a little more active than this, a little less passive. The artist Chuck Close is famous for his quote, "Inspiration is for amateurs," and I happen to agree. It sounds disparaging, but what he really meant was that you need to be active in gathering inspiration, not waiting around for it, but being professional about seeking out inspiration. So what are some ways we can find new inspiration? Take a walk. It's as simple as that. Open your eyes and see the world around you. Go on a walk, not to walk the dog, but to discover new ideas and be actively aware of your surroundings. Look for things that might be a great source of inspiration for a quilt idea. You don't even need to be thinking, I need to see something that looks like a quilt. It can be anything. Shadows, the shape of a leaf, the outline of a series of buildings, the colours someone's wearing, the numbers on someone's letterbox. And that is just around your neighbourhood. What about going to the local library or the local art gallery, an art supply shop? Okay, be careful and don't say I didn't warn you. What about nature? Plants in your garden, go to the local nursery or the park, a trip to the botanical gardens in your local city. Go for a drive to the hills or to the plain or to the beach or somewhere that is not where you are right now. What new foliage, shapes, colours, patterns can you see? So now we have a source for inspiration. What then? Are we just supposed to look? How do you record all of this goodness? Well, stick around because coming up is my tip to really get the most out of your ideas and inspiration. But first, let's have a look at capturing inspiration. This is step 2 in the inspiration process, which is really all about capturing that inspiration. And I like to use sketching as a way to jot down ideas. I'm not talking about a 6-hour landscape painting. I'm talking about a 2-minute sketch to capture an idea. It's not a masterpiece. You're going for a quick sketch to get the idea down on paper. Include as much or as little detail as is enough to remind you of what you saw and the shapes or the colours or patterns that really caught your eye. Here are some examples of my non-masterpieces that have led to quilt ideas. Sketching is my favourite way to capture inspiration. Why? Because you have an immediately deeper understanding of the subject you're trying to draw. You're really trying to make a connection between your head and your hand, and what you're seeing and what you're making. Another great way to capture that inspiration is by taking photos. And a photo is great if you just don't have time to do a quick sketch, or maybe you need to stand in the middle of a busy road to get the shot that you need. I mean, please be careful. But if you do have the time, my advice is to sketch it. And the key is not to frame it well and make sure you use the rule of thirds. The key to taking photos is to review them after you take them. So once you've gone out and about and snapped that photo-worthy quilt inspiration, don't leave it languishing on your phone gathering digital dust. I'm going to leave a link in the description down below to my journal post where I go into much more detail about my photo review process. And once you have your inspiration photo, go back home or get somewhere quiet and look at that photo and start to draw it. Sketch from your screen, or you can even lay a piece of paper on top of the screen or on your iPad or tablet and trace the shapes. Change the colors from color to black and white maybe, and see what shapes stand out with that higher contrast between them. This is another really great way you can hone in on what it is that you want to see, or it's a great way to even see secondary shapes that might not have been evident when you first took the photo. Up next is the last step in the inspiration process. But before we get there, let's address that feeling you get when you just have too many ideas. Are you someone who has so many photos and so many ideas you're just overwhelmed? Well, we talked a bit at the beginning of having too many ideas, of already being full up with ideas. If this is the case, what can you do? You need a system. It's overwhelming to have to hold on to so many ideas all the time. Where do you start? Oh no, I don't want to forget that one. It's slipping away. Quick, catch it. Here's my tip on keeping on top of those thousands of ideas. A sketchbook. It's such a great way to keep a record of your ideas. You can feel relaxed knowing that you've safely deposited and stored your idea in a sketchbook and that you can return to it at a future time. I keep my sketchbooks close. I have one on hand a lot of the time, and when I see something that I want to note down, I write it down or I doodle it right away. Again, you don't need to spend a lot of time on it, just a quick sketch or two and a couple of lines of writing that might describe your idea. It's not a masterpiece, it's a note to self of something to return to. So there's my tip on how to stay on top of all of those ideas swirling around. Just get them down on paper. So far we've looked at the first two steps in the inspiration part of the design process, seeking and capturing inspiration. Is that it? No, the most important part comes next, and that is stage 3, reviewing. Stage 3 is all about reviewing what you've got. It's all well and good to capture your inspiration, but the most important part of the process is when you review, when you're actively passing that external inspiration through your internal system, your design black box I like to call it, aka your brain. So what do I mean by review? It sounds kind of formal, and while I'm not trying to take the fun out of creating, you do have to get a bit organised when it comes to review. What I like to do is actually schedule time to review my ideas. So once a month I schedule time to go back through and catalogue my photos. I put them into different categories or albums on my phone, so I have something to refer back to. And even just that act of going back and looking at these images can trigger connections or associations between things I might not have seen right away. I see things in one place, and having them again in the same place alongside other images I've captured can lead to all kinds of things. A new series of work, an idea for a theme for a fabric collection, a series of quilt block ideas. And what about your sketchbook? This for me is a working document, and I've spent a lot of time and effort getting over that hump of thinking that my sketchbook needs to be perfect, that every spread needs to be gorgeous. It's a place for me to jot ideas down, so I jot them down. But it is very easy to close the page on that idea and just move on, and that's fine too. You don't need to take action on every idea that you have. It would be impossible to do that. So that's why it's important to go back and review your ideas, to leaf through your sketchbook regularly and collate those ideas that you've had over time. Synthesize those ideas together. And again, maybe you'll see a common theme emerge. Maybe all of a sudden you'll realize that you use a very specific color palette and you didn't even realize that consciously before. Or maybe you realize that for the past 6 months or so you've been producing circular shapes. Whatever it is, you can't notice these things in the moment. You need to go back and review your work over a period of time. And this interval might look different depending on how frequently you are creating. Are you prolific and sketch and create a lot every day? Are you more sporadic and do a burst every week or less? Find a review schedule that works for you and then stick to it. Put it in your calendar, set a reminder on your phone, or even build a habit around it. For example, Saturday morning I'm going to wake up and I have a coffee and then I review my sketchbook. Whatever works for you. So there you have it. There are 3 stages to gathering inspiration as I see it. Seeking out that inspiration actively, capturing it in a variety of different ways, and then most importantly of all, reviewing it. And each of these stages lead into one another, and that means that you have a system to come up with unique ideas. If you follow these steps, you will never be stuck of an idea of what to create again. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe so that you don't miss out on more videos like this. And if you'd like some more ideas on where to seek inspiration that might just be a little bit out of the box, sign up to receive my guide on thinking outside the box. You can find the link down in the description below. You're going to get a list of out of the ordinary ideas on how to gather inspiration or where to look for it. And I also run design challenges every now and again, so if you sign up, you'll be sure to get notified for the next time I run a creative challenge, which might just help you kickstart your creative habit. I'll see you soon.